one, like half a spoonful basically, of the stomach acid of a cat, and you swallowed it, it would burn a hole straight through your stomach, meaning the acidity that is required in an animal that is a carnivore and that is given the teeth and the claws and the digestive system to digest it is so acidic that it would burn right through your stomach. That's the level of acid that is needed to actually healthily break down the meat, which is why animals that are meant to eat meat have stomach acid that is that strong. So we know it's unhealthy for us physically. We don't have the capacity to break it down. It's why it gets stuck. It's why it leads to gut issues, digestive issues, constipation, gas, all kinds of seemingly small things, as well as a lot bigger health issues. But the question is it spiritually unhealthy? Which is a really interesting question. The answer, of course, is still an unequivocal yes, it is. It's unhealthy for many reasons. First of all, quite literally, I think it was Aldous Huxley, but it could have been George Bernard Shaw. Some very famous, beautiful philosopher of days past said, why would I want to turn my body into a graveyard? And literally eating death means my body is a cemetery. Cemetery is where dead bodies are. If that's what I'm sticking into me, my body becomes a cemetery. So on that core level, why would you put death inside if what I want to create is life and vibrance? But spiritually also, as I was speaking in the Arati, regardless of your religion, regardless of your spiritual tradition, there's a few things that everyone seems to agree on. Compassion, non-violence, caring. Whether you look at the 10 Commandments that say, thou shalt not kill, or you look at the Ashtanga Yoga that begins with yam and niyam of ahimsa, whether you look at our scriptures that tell us to live with compassion, regardless of where you look, the teaching is really the same. Be compassionate. Don't cause harm to another. Certainly don't kill. The meat industry, it's not just about killing animals. Because of course then you get into the big discussion around, well, do they count? And of course, most of us believe, yes, they count, because there's no qualifiers. There's nothing that says, thou shalt not kill a human, or thou shalt not kill anything on 2 legs. It just says, thou shalt not kill. But even aside from that argument, we're now at a time in which the meat industry is killing humans. So even if, in your viewpoint, which on a personal level I would disagree with, that you legitimately have the right to kill other species, even if you believe that, the meat industry today is killing humans. And it's killing humans because tens of thousands of people are dying of starvation every day. A huge number of them children. Almost 1 billion people sleep hungry every night. But we produce enough grain to give 2 loaves of bread to every single person on earth. But the dilemma is that we don't use that grain to feed people. We use that grain to feed livestock, the animals who will end up on our plates tomorrow. And because we cycle our grain like that, we are spending 16 times as much grain to get meat out than we would if we were getting bread or chapatis or rice or pasta. For 1 pound of grain, you get 1 pound of bread, of chapati, of pasta, of rice. But it takes 16 pounds of that grain to get 1 pound of meat. So on a spiritual level, what we have to ask ourselves is, does my spiritual tradition tell me that I am worth the lives of 15 other people? Does my spiritual tradition say that somehow I am more deserving of food and life than 15 other people? That it's okay, let them starve, because I have the luxury to choose. I don't know of a spiritual tradition in the world that when you put it like that would say, oh yeah. One of the arguments that's made frequently in the Judeo-Christian traditions that are anchored in Old Testament, New Testament, biblical traditions, is there's a line in the Bible in which it says that when God was creating the earth, and he created the animals, and he gave man dominion over the animals. People sometimes use that to say, well, look, even religiously we are told that we have dominion, means power, over the animals. But you also have dominion over your children. And nobody would say it was okay to eat them. There's lots and lots and lots of cultures around the world in which husbands have dominion over their wives. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right, but it exists. However, even in those cultures, which we could certainly consider chauvinistic and not equal, none of them is saying, oh yeah, you want to eat your wife? No problem. Cook her up, saute her with, some onions and tomatoes. Having dominion does not mean that I am allowed to kill and eat. On a spiritual level, we are called to live consciously with an awareness of the ripple impact of my choices, my words, my thoughts, my actions. It's why we're given, again, these commandments. Don't steal, don't lie. Why? Because if I lie or if I steal or if I harm, it has a ripple impact. So all of our spiritual traditions, whatever books you reference, are telling us, watch your actions. Otherwise, why? Why ahimsa? Why satya? Why asteya? Why not steal? Why not lie? Who cares? If it's easier for you, lie. You want something, steal it. Why not? Because the ripple impact is harm. And so whether it's religious canon scripture, whether it's yoga philosophy, whether it's epics, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, over and over and over again we are taught, do not do anything that has a ripple impact of harm on the planet. The meat industry today, again, as I was saying in the Arti, is, according to the United Nations, the single greatest contributor to climate change. The amount of methane, the amount of carbon that is being emitted into our atmosphere due to the meat industry. How? Well, I won't go into all the details because I could do this all night, but just quickly. Grazing cows, if anybody's ever seen it, it takes a lot of land. They need a lot of space for the cows to roam, then you got to grow their food. In most parts of the world, land is expensive. Land is expensive in America, it's expensive in Europe, it's expensive in England, it's expensive in India. So what the meat industry does is it goes to places that are inhabited in large part by indigenous populations, and it takes over their land. And if, for example, it's land like the Amazon rainforest that already is occupied with indigenous populations, with trees that actually give us the air we breathe, that absorb the carbon from our air, that provide the water for our planet, that are home to species that exist nowhere else on this planet, they don't care, cut down the trees. Well, when you clear cut forests, it emits huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. Huge amounts. Aside from the fact that we no longer have the trees absorbing the carbon. But the cutting of the trees, the clear cutting of them, the burning of it, emits huge amounts of carbon into the air. It's said actually that the amount of carbon that is emitted into the atmosphere through the production of one meal of hamburgers is the same as if you drove your car non-stop, night and day, 24 hours a day for 3 straight weeks. And I mention this because most of us are trying to do whatever we can to have a sustainable life. Oh, I'll take the bus instead of drive. Oh, I'll walk or ride my bicycle. Oh, we'll carpool. But that hamburger is literally the equivalent of turning on your car and driving it nonstop for 3 weeks. The methane in our air, in huge part, comes literally out of the forward and back orifices of the cow. The cow is emitting methane into the atmosphere. But it also is one of the greatest destroyers of our planet's water. The statistic that to me is the most powerful, and there's a lot of them, but just one, is that the amount of water that goes into the production of one meal of hamburgers. So you sit down with your family for a meal of hamburgers, or you sit with a couple of friends for hamburgers. The amount of water that has gone into producing those hamburgers is the same amount of water that you use in 6 months of bathing. Now, bathing every day, and bathing not from a bucket, not like I fill up one bucket and I use it, but literally an overhead shower that is running over me for 8 minutes straight is what, in that particular study, they used as the average shower. Do that every day for 6 months, and you will use approximately 2,500 gallons, approximately 10,000 liters of water. That's the same amount of water that goes into that one meal of hamburgers. Now, you think we all turn off the tap when we brush our teeth. Like nobody these days would leave, I hope, the tap running while they're brushing their teeth or washing their face. We know, turn off the tap. But what does that save? A liter, maybe? Maybe 2 maximum? Half a sink load? In order to offset that one meal of hamburgers, you'd have to not bathe for 6 months. And chicken is about a third, so you'd have to not bathe for 2 months. Now, on a spiritual level, because of course the question was spiritual, what that means is that I am stealing, I am hoarding. In our yogic practice, we are told, asteya apigraha. Do not steal, do not hoard. I'm stealing, I'm hoarding. The 10 Commandments say, thou shalt not steal. We are stealing the water of this planet. Farmers are committing suicide because their fields are desiccated. People are dying across the world from hunger. the amount of water that could be used to grow their fields is actually being used to give us meat. So on a spiritual level, the question we have to keep asking ourselves is, what does my spiritual tradition say about stealing, about hoarding, about equality, about compassion? As I said in the Arati, you would never steal bread out of the hands of a child. But if you eat meat, you're stealing it out of not only one kid's hands, but 15 kids' hands. What dharma, what spiritual tradition, what religion, what scripture says, oh yeah, that's okay if you can afford it, no problem? And so spiritually unhealthy, yeah, because in order to do that kind of thing, we have to cut ourselves off from spirit. It's like harm of any kind. It's like saying, is beating your kids spiritually unhealthy? Well, yeah, because you have to cut yourself off from love. You have to cut yourself off from compassion in order to be able to do it. Is cheating someone spiritually unhealthy? Of course it is, because I have to cut myself off from the awareness that we are one in order to be able to harm. In the same way, a non-vegetarian diet requires us to cut ourselves off, not only from the animals who quite literally we are eating. That's a whole other point, but it's so obvious I never even bother mentioning it. Not only do we have to cut ourselves off from them, but we have to cut ourselves off from every person on this planet who depends on clean water, from every child who's hungry, from everyone in the future generations who needs a world with water, a world with a stable climate. So we're cutting ourselves off from inner connection and compassion and love and truth. So yeah, it is spiritually unhealthy, but don't use that as another way to berate yourself. Just use it as a way to recognize that 3 times a day you have an opportunity to choose compassion, to choose consciously. You messed up at breakfast, you gave in to the bacon, okay, it's no problem. You got lunch. Choose better at lunch. You messed up at lunch, you ate the tuna salad. Okay, no, dinner's coming up. Choose better at dinner. Choose better. Choose consciously. Choose compassionately. Yeah, beautiful. Other questions? Yes, there's a mic right here. Please feel free. Yes, question number 2. Thank you for being so patient.
I bow down to your feet and seek your blessings and ask you, which is the best slok you like in Gita, and of the 5 vikas, which is the most difficult to leave?
Which is the best, hang on, stay for just a second. Which is the best shlok to learn from Gita?
No.
And what was the second part?
Which is the best shlok you like of Gita?
What is the best shlok I like of Gita? Okay,
Yeah.
and the second part?
And of the 5 vikas, that is what Kam, Krodh and all that, which is the most difficult to leave?
Okay. So which verse of the Bhagavad Gita do I like the most? And then which of the vices, greed, lust, anger, etc., is the hardest to leave? The Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses of precious jewels. Precious jewels. It's absolutely impossible for me to say this is the one I like the best. However, in alignment with our earlier conversation around World Vegetarian Day, One of my favorite is a beautiful verse that says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyupvitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. And it means, Bhagavan Krishna is saying this, of course, and he says, Patram, a leaf, pushpam, a flower, phalam, a piece of fruit, toyam, water. Whatever of these things is offered to me by my devotee with love, I accept it with love. And one of the reasons that I love the verses is one of the problems that so many of us who are trying to walk a spiritual path face is this sense of, is God happy with me? Like, am I living up to what God wants of me? Am I doing enough? Is there something I should be doing more? Is my offering enough? Am I meditating long enough? Am I doing enough japa? Am I praying with enough love and devotion? And for many of us, I know myself included, it's hard. It's hard to feel like you measure up. There's always a feeling of like, oh, I should have done just one more mala of japa. Or, oh, I should have, my mind wandered when I was praying. I shouldn't have let it wander. Or, oh, I was slightly distracted in lighting the lamp this morning. I was in a bit of a rush. I shouldn't have been in a rush. And we're really hard on ourselves. I know I am, at least. And what I love about that teaching is, it's basically Bhagavan Krishna saying, whatever you do, whatever you give me, as long as you do it with love and devotion, I accept it. With love, happily. Not like, if that's the best you can do, then I guess chalega. It's not that. I accept it happily with love. So that's one reason I love that particular verse, is it takes a little bit of the guilt off of those of us who are prone toward guilt, of what we may feel is a lack in our offering to the divine. But what I also love in it is all of the 4 options that he gives, they're all free. So it's not whether you offer me your mansion, or you offer me gold, or you offer me an expensive car, or you offer me silks and pearls, I accept it. Every single thing, a leaf, a flower, a piece of fruit, some water, freely available. So there's no discrimination. It's not like God is saying, I love the guy who covered my temple with gold more than I love the one who brought one flower from his garden. All of the options we're given are free. But the other reason that I love it is they're also all natural things, which means to me on a level of eco-sensitivity and sustainability. A leaf, a flower, fruit, water. Now, anything we offer God has to be clean, it has to be pure. You would never take that to mean, oh, I can just, fill up a cup from my toilet and offer it to God. Water doesn't mean from my toilet. It doesn't mean from the sewer. It doesn't mean from the drain. Intuitively we understand. You don't need a footnote in the Gita saying, hey, make sure the water is clean. We know that. You don't need a footnote that says, hey, and make sure that that flower hasn't been stomped upon and squished into the ground. Make sure that the piece of fruit hasn't been pooped on by some animal. We know that intuitively. It should be clean. It should be pure. Which to me means we have to take care of our environment. Otherwise, where are we going to get clean water from? Where are you going to get clean fruit from? Surely he doesn't mean the wax-covered stuff that passes for fruit these days. Where are you going to get something that is actually worthy of offering to the divine? A flower that's not filled with chemicals and pesticides, that hasn't been sprayed with some toxins that now you're going to stick it in your temple. A piece of fruit that doesn't have the DNA. I mean, we're looking at all this GMO. Could you imagine? You offer a piece of fruit in your temple, and it's been spliced in with the DNA of a fish. Right? I mean, think about it for a moment. Like, all of these things that we have to offer, it means we have to protect our environment. Keep it clean, keep it pure. Otherwise, how are we going to offer these things to the divine? So, one of my favorite Gita verses. I'm going to take your second question tomorrow, because tomorrow on Dashera is actually the day that we're going to be talking about these 10 heads of Ravan, all of the vices, the anger, the greed, the ego, the lust, the ignorance, the desires, the aversions, all of that. So we'll talk about that second question tomorrow on Dashera. And we'll take another question here. Yeah.
सादर प्रणाम, मैं अखिलेश from Kashi, Uttar Pradesh.
Wonderful.
My question is that why minds create unwanted thoughts and comes again and again? I don't say it's a negative or positive. I said it's unwanted thoughts.
Great.
Yeah. Then my question is then how to deal with it?
Great.
Thank
So
you.
why does our mind create unwanted thoughts, positive or negative, and how do we free ourselves of them? The first aspect is simply to be aware. And if you are aware of the thought, then what you are able in that first moment to recognize is, I am not the thought. Okay? Most of us act like helpless victims, as though literally some cosmic power has turned a tape deck on in our brain and there is no off button and there is no volume button. But it's not like that. We're not victims like that. We actually have control. One of my favorite easy experiments is take a moment and just think in your mind the word love. Okay? Just in your mind, over and over and over again, all of you, eyes open or eyes closed, doesn't matter, but just for 30 seconds, I want you to recite the word love over and over and over in your mind. Okay, just love, 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 love. In your mind, recite that. Now, instead of love, I want you to recite the word hate. Hate, hate, in your mind. Now go back to love. Just reciting, almost yelling the word love in your own mind. Okay. Could you do it? Could you do it? I've just demonstrated in less than 60 seconds that we actually have control. When we put our conscious mind to it, we actually have control of the thoughts in our mind. The problem is that there is a subconscious tape deck that is going. It hasn't been put there by some cosmic power. There is an off button. There is a volume button. We can re-record over it. But it is there. And it's been filled with thoughts, patterns, teachings, ideas, projections that we've gotten during our lives from the time we were very young. Most of that tape is filled before we hit 10 years old. And in most of our minds, it says things like, you are stupid. You are worthless. Nobody will love you. Who do you think you are? Oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Oh my God, what if this happens? They are filled with fear, anxiety, self-denigration, like being mean to yourself. That's what plays in most of our mind most of the time. But a practice of working with the mind can change that. But first we have to be aware. I am the one watching this tape deck, or I guess in today's lingo we would talk about like a Spotify playlist or something, but I still think of it visually like an old tape deck with a play button. And it's playing. And I'm the one aware, I'm watching it play. Which means I'm not the tape, I'm not the sounds coming out of the tape. I'm the one watching it. I'm the one aware of it. And that's the first most important piece, because most of us identify as that tape. And just because it plays in our mind, we think it's true. Oh, whatever comes out of that tape must be true because it plays in my own mind. It's never true. Likeroko. Nothing it says is true. We are the ones aware that we have this tape deck of falsehood playing over and over and over and over in our mind. You need this, you're never going to get that. This is going to happen, that's not going to happen. If this happens, then oh my God, the sky's going to fall. I just need that. If I don't get that, I won't be happy. If I get this, I'm going to be miserable. That's going to make me happy. They're lies. All of them. First step, recognize you are not them, you are the one aware. Second step, recognize which of the songs in that play deck do you not like. When I was growing up, raise your hand if you are over the age of 45 here. Okay, good, a lot of you. So, when I was growing up, we used to make each other something that was called a mixtape. Right? Anybody remember a mixtape? You'd make a mixtape for your friends. And I used to go to summer camp every summer, and it would be great. My friends would make me mixtapes, and I would listen to them all summer. And it meant that it would be like one song from that artist, and one song from that artist. And everybody who's, below 30 thinks, well, of course, like that's how Spotify works. But, more than 30 years ago, it wasn't like that. You'd buy one tape, one album of one artist, and then you want a different song from a different artist, you got to buy their whole tape. A mixtape would be one song from here, one song from there, one song from there, and you'd make it very special for each other. Now, every once in a while, a friend would give you a mixtape with a song or two on it that you really didn't like. Like, you liked the rest of them, but you didn't like that one. And you would just fast forward through it. Or you could change it. Play it with a blank tape next to it and only record the songs that you liked from it. Super easy. We had these big boom boxes, 2 empty spaces for tapes. You could re-record it. This is what we need to do in our minds. It's like we've got this mixtape in our mind. A thought from our mom, a thought from our father, a thought from our grandfather, a thought from a teacher, a thought from a neighbor, a thought from some TV commercial we saw. And it's created this mixtape in our mind. And it's up to us to decide which of these things, if any, do I like hearing inside me? that benefit me, that make me feel peaceful and inspired and empowered and aware? And which of them just make me feel miserable and doubt myself and hate myself, judge myself? And rewrite that tape. Start over. You don't have to listen to it if you don't want it. But you have to first be aware that it's been created there. And that's what our practices of meditation, of japa, do, is they allow us to really become aware of what's going on in my mind so that I can work with it. Practices of seva, karma yoga, purify the mind, quite literally. It's like taking your entire mixtape and dipping it in Ganga. It's not going to bother you anymore. It purifies the mind. So we work with it. You work with it. Fill the mind first with something else. A mantra, a prayer, a chant. And then slowly, 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 work in your meditation toward getting to a thoughtless place. First, have thoughts that you want. Affirmations, mantras, whatever. But then slowly, slowly, slowly get to a place of that spaciousness, that thoughtless place. That open mind, spacious mind, like the sky. Clouds will come, but they blow across it quickly. And that ultimately becomes the goal. But first you have to realize you are not the tape, you are not the tape deck. You are the one aware. Record over it. Throw it away, give it to Ganga. Start new. Great, beautiful. आप कल भी है अपने साथ? कल नहीं है? ठीक, ठीक. We'll end with her question.
Pranam. Ma'am, please give me and my family blessings. Ma'am, I am actually just want to ask you that from past 1 month, 1 year actually, I have detached myself from worshipping, and I am having the regret for the same. And I am here. I have taken dip in Holy Ganga, so that I should Holy Ganga should take away all my bad things. But point is that I am still worried about when I will go my home back. The same thing will prevail. If the same thing will prevail, then what will happen? So I just want how to overcome all such type of bad things from me, so that I can again start worshipping God.
Beautiful. So first of all, there's nothing bad in you whatsoever. There's nothing in you that is unworthy of worshiping God. But being here is a very powerful spiritual reset. So as you said, you've offered it all to Ganga. You've had your bath in Ganga. Beautiful. Now when you go back, realize that you're going back, reset. The patterns of those other negative habits may arise, but that doesn't mean you have to give in to them. They're not going to happen on their own. The universe isn't going to make you stop meditating, stop praying, stop doing puja. That's you who's going to stop doing it. So what you have to realize is, I'm taking myself back. मैं तो स्वयं जा रही हूँ वापस, और मैं तो बदल गए माँ गंगा की कृपा से. तो मेरे को कौन रोकेगा पूजा करने से? रोकने वाले कौन है? मैं नहीं हूँ. I am the one who's devoted. ठीक है, मन में माया आते हैं, distractions आते हैं, but माँ गंगा से ऐसे प्रार्थना करो कि हे माँ मुझे ऐसे शक्ति दो. Give me this power. Let that be your prayer to Ganga. Give me this power That even if my mind is saying, don't pray, don't meditate, don't do puja, that I do it anyway. But this is the nature of the mind. Ask anybody who starts an exercise program. Ask anybody who starts a diet or healthy eating program. Anything we start that's new, that's out of the way of our kind of lazy way of being, it takes a while. It takes some willpower in the beginning to get out of a warm bed and go jogging, or get out of a warm bed and meditate, or eat a salad instead of French fries. Nobody ever said it's easy. But we do it because we know that the end results are far more important than my momentary mental weakness of wanting to just stay in bed or just wanting to have the French fries. I know an hour from now, I'm going to be so much happier if I got up and went for a walk. I'm going to be so much happier if I got up and meditated. An hour from now, I'm going to be so much happier having eaten the salad rather than a plate full of French fries. I'm going to feel so much better in my body. And so it's having compassion for future you. Whenever we make good choices, spiritual choices, health choices, it's making a choice for future you. I brush my teeth so that future me doesn't have to deal with cavities. Right? You clean up the house before you go away on vacation so that future you doesn't come home to a mess. You do the dishes at night before you sleep so that future you doesn't wake up in the morning to a sink full of dishes. Otherwise, the end of the day, like, hey, forget it, leave it till the morning, like, who cares? But you do it because you know, oh, it's going to be awful to wake up in the morning with a messy kitchen and a sink full of dishes. A bikar dalo. In the same way, future you is going to be so much happier, so much more peaceful, so much more grounded, so much more anchored, so much more fulfilled if you stay with your practice of meditation, of prayer, of divine connection. So don't think about it like a should that you should do just in the world. Think about it the same reason that you brush your teeth. So future you doesn't have to deal with cavities. In the same way, so future you doesn't have to deal with misery and anger and negativity and resentment and judgment and competition and jealousy and blah, 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 all the stuff that afflicts us when we don't do our spiritual practice. Okay? Yeah. Great. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, a beautiful Mahanomi. We have, starting very shortly on the banks of Ganga, the second night of 3 nights of the Ram Leela. It'll go on till 10 o'clock. It's a beautiful dance drama of the story of the Ramayana, being put on by beautiful artists from all over the country. So that's open to everyone. You're all invited to that. It's down where we do Arati and then to the left. So that's on tonight and also tomorrow.